Alrighty, folks. We're going to talk today about how to run a full node on the Binance Smart Chain. Um, some of this is old, it looks like, and um, if you watch my previous video where it talks about downloading the snapshot, don't do it. So, if you want to run a Binance Smart Chain full node, come to this URL, which I've put down in the doobly-doo below, um, and effectively grab your binary. Um, Here is the best way to go unless you're crazy paranoid and want to clone and have Go installed. You can clone and build your own, but for the quick and dirty, just grab, and oddly enough, wget doesn't exist on Mac OS, so you'll have to be a little more creative than that. But basically, you grab the get eth file, and then you'll have to make it executable with a chmod command. So that's a homework assignment for you. And then this again doesn't work, so you'll have to find the file here, which is this. So you'll have to curl that sucker and unzip it yourself because this doesn't work. It may work on Linux, but it does not work on Mac OS. So heads up if you're on a Mac. Um, and then for this command, I recommend, especially if you're going to run a testnet and a mainnet situation, what I recommend you do here is to use, instead of the word node in that directory, use the word mainnet or the word testnet if you, depending on which one you are running here. Node gets confusing. And then again, when you start it, you're in that same directory. You start it with the config file, and then you change the data directory to /testnet or /mainnet. You don't need this bullshit here unless you really want to look at the profiling and all kinds of craziness. But I'll show you the command that I used back here. Was just after I made it executable, I just did get eth mac, and then the config file, the data dir, and then we want the WebSocket because our code is already set up to connect to WebSocket. So now we just have to wait for this sucker to sync. And they say you can download the snapshot, put it in the right directory, yada yada, bada bing. The problem is it seems that the whoever took that snapshot, at least the one that I downloaded, seems to be one running an older version and an older layout of Geeth of the Geeth application, the geth, because there was several warnings that you didn't happen to notice if you didn't read the log from the very beginning of startup. And then when you go to fix those errors, for some reason, even with static peers in there, it wasn't syncing the blockchain from the past. And apparently, in order for the Ethereum chain to come up correctly, you have to have the whole blockchain, as it's my understanding. You can't just go with the lightweight stuff if you want to run a full node. We don't necessarily need a full node in this case, as I'm understanding it. But the problem is, I don't believe the code fires up all the way into the operations or everything that we need without a full sync happening. Or I didn't find the right command switches to force it to stay in lightweight mode. I don't know enough about those details, especially on the Ethereum side. Certainly not what Binance may have changed. Um, so instead of doing the sync process, and unfortunately, I downloaded 260 some gigabytes of data, but it's no big deal. It was just an evening worth of data transfer that I wasted. So when you go through the process, just do this process. Don't try to go to the chain data snapshot and try to put it in there until they update it with the new, someone gets a better snapshot and puts out there. Because even in um, various, like I can pull this one over here. Um, there, even people are complaining in random locations that because this is what you end up getting if you go to the sync and use the chains snapshot that they provide, put it in the right place. You end up just looking for peers forever, even though you have 8 static that should be able to provide the data. It's just not doing it. So what ends up happening is I just did the followed the instrucciones wherever they went. Man, I really misplaced them. Actually, I may have closed them out when oh, here it is. Just follow these instructions and fire it up and let it sit for a day. Um, like I've done here, because it will sync up on its own, especially using those static peers or those static assigned peers. So just let it go. Like, see, right now we're at 2 months, 1 week, 4 days, and then I'm assuming, and I will come back live when we are able to do some real operations. I'm assuming as soon as this chain gets synced up, the rest of the code will fire up, and you'll see more logging right here, as well as the log file itself will start to show and fire events and whatnot, which is what we want to see on the most recent blocks. Because we don't have the most recent blocks and we're not up to date on however this works, we have to let this process finish. So that's about it, folks. Just follow the instructions in the URL provided below. It's going to take a long time. Just let it do its thing. This is the first step, and then we'll modify the code slightly, um, just to talk to our local host node here. But if we tried to run this right now when we're not in a chain synced mode, this will just sit there and wait for events that'll never fire until, I'm hoping, we get fully synced up with the chain. So, all right, that's how things happen. If you want to set up your own Binance full node, be patient, folks. It will get it synced up. Just give it time. All right, talk to you in the next video.